Inside the last half an hour of the Sportsmax Zone for this Friday, Captain Craig Brathwaite has laid the blame at the feet of the batsmen after the West Indies were beaten by Sri Lanka in the second and final test, which ended in Galle on Friday. The Caribbean side suffered a similar collapse, losing their last 7 wickets, a familiar collapse, 7 wickets for 42 runs to go down by 164 runs. Sri Lanka, who resumed their second innings on 328 for 8, declared at 345 for 9 with Dhananjaya de Silva unbeaten on 155. Veerasammy Permaul ended with 3 for 106 for a match haul of 8 for 141, and Roston Chase picked up 2 for 82. There were 2 runouts, while Jason Holder with 1 for 26 was the only fast bowler to claim a wicket. And chasing 297 for victory, the West Indies with 44 from Nkrumah Bonner and 36 from Jermaine Blackwood, along with 16 from Shea Hope, got to 92 for 3. However, Kemar Roach with 13 was the only other player to reach double figures, as left-arm spinner Lasith Mbuldenia 5 for 35, and player of the series Ramesh Mendes 5 for 66 skittled the West Indies out for 132. So a familiar collapse for the West Indies and familiar post-match rhetoric. Here is Craig Brathwaite discussing the positives from the series.
Well, it was good to see obviously Permaul coming back in, after a couple of years and getting, his first 5 wicket haul, and that was quite good. I thought all the bowlers, the spinners really putting a big effort. Roston, getting a 5er, Warkan getting a 4-fer. The fast bowlers putting in the effort, obviously on spinning friendly, conditions. All the bowlers putting a good effort, and we saw some good batting from Bonner and Joshua. And those are positives we could take out, and just as batsmen, as I said, is to do it for longer periods.
Yeah, West Indies captain Craig Brathwaite. The West Indies first toured Sri Lanka back in 1993 and are still to register a win in the South Asian country, losing 9 and drawing 4 of 13 test matches. Fazeer Mohammed was a commentator on the live TV broadcast and joins us now to talk about the West Indies efforts there. But before that, Faz, a tribute, I would have to say, the news coming in today that the media giant in Trinidad and Tobago, Tony Hartford, also a top sports administrator, passed away today.
Indeed, Lance. Good to talk to you again, and of course to George as well. Yes, condolences, of course, to the family, the friends, and all those who knew and worked with or knew about Tony Hartford, someone who was really the voice of sport for quite some time, broadcasting for the state television network, Trinidad and Tobago Television, TTT. And he also had his own sports management company, All Sport Promotions, which really did a lot to promote a lot of sporting activity. He was involved in administration as well with the North Zone of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, and tried his best to at least make some sort of contribution to the administration of that particular sport, and was also in the marketing department at some time with the West Indies Cricket Board, as it was known for some time. So yes, condolences to all who would know Tony, and I think someone who made a really sterling contribution as a broadcaster and indeed in the administration of sport. He certainly will be missed.
Yeah, and beyond Trinidad and Tobago as well, Fazeer, because he did have the weekly Caribbean Sports Digest, which was a documentary program that went right throughout the region and covered many stories beyond the shores of Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed, and I think he was somebody really committed to not just the job as a sports broadcaster, but also to the promotion of local sport, as you mentioned, not just within the boundaries of Trinidad and Tobago, yes, but throughout the region.
Yeah, all right. So the West Indies had their problems today, not problems that we are unaccustomed to. And we must say, having previewed the final day on the show yesterday, we didn't really have much hope that they would have been able to fend off, an aggressive spin attack, which was anticipated from the Sri Lankans, and they didn't achieve it.
Well, just to use your phrase, familiar rhetoric, which was what we just heard from Craig Brathwaite. I understand, Lance, the point that a captain would make, a player would make, a coach would make, and so on. But how much longer are we going to continue like this? This is this is unending. With the West Indies, again, started the year superbly with those two test match wins in Bangladesh. But you look at the capitulation today, from 92 for 2 to 132 all out. Some of the dismissals, Shea Hope with all of the talent that he has, pulling a long hop to forward square leg. And there's always a caveat that's added. There's always a different perspective. But again, you just look at the track record. And yes, there would be the occasional encouraging performance. The continuing narrative, especially when it comes to batting, is one of mediocrity and really distressing mediocrity. When we talk about players with a bit of talent, like Shea Hope himself, we all remember those twin hundreds at Headingley. But I wish I had the direct answer for you as to why we seem to have settled into a zone of mediocrity that we just can't seem to get out of as far as the batting is concerned, definitely.
Yeah, not too happy that you're using zone and mediocrity in the same sentence, Faz, but I'll let that pass.
I'm grateful. It's early in the morning.
Fazeer, the thing for me, and I don't know if it's disappointment, because it's not as if I didn't expect the outcome that eventualized, but I said to myself, why is it that the West Indies, of all the established test cricketing nations, the West Indies seems to be the only one who, more often than not, fail to have two outstanding individual contributions in each innings? Whether it is their feeling, you hardly have two outstanding contributions from West Indies bowlers, and when they're batting, you hardly have two outstanding contributions from West Indies batsmen. I think that's part and parcel of that's expected of a test team, where you must be able to get substantial contributions from more than one person in the field or while batting. And it's something that escapes us far more often than any of the other test-playing nations. And it's perhaps a why that even you can't explain.
Well, could I give you a partial answer to that? Because our idea now of outstanding contribution is 44 from Nkrumah Bonner and 36 from Jermaine Blackwood. That's our idea of outstanding. Our idea of outstanding is Nkrumah Bonner 68 not out, and Joshua De Silva getting a half century, and we lose on the last day of the first test. West Indies cricket has settled into mediocrity. This is the reality, and you could dance around it how much you want. You could colour it how much you want. You could find all sorts of spin. The numbers are there. We lose 5 test matches every year for the last 24 years. Our first 6 wickets in test match cricket fall for 161 on average over the last 6 years. For this series, it was 105. So if you were to put it in a best case scenario, West Indies, more often than not, are 105 for 6 in this series, or 165 for 6 in test matches generally. We have settled on a level of mediocrity that makes a 45 or a 55 an outstanding performance.
Yeah, as you say that, we know we are knocking the current team, but this is actually the 20th anniversary month of Brian Lara scoring 688 runs in Sri Lanka. By far the most runs in the series, even more than Tilakaratne, when the West Indies lost that series 3-0 and Lara shone. He was actually player of the series, even though he was in the team that lost 3-0. You're in Sri Lanka. What is so difficult about Sri Lankan conditions that the West Indies just can't seem to flourish there? Because it's not just this team, Faz. It had been teams with stronger players as well.
You're absolutely right. And it's not about just knocking this team. That's why I mentioned the context of those numbers going back many, many years. And the fact is that, yes, specific to Sri Lanka, they are generally turning pitches. And of course, for many of our players, very difficult to cope in these conditions. And of course, Sri Lanka for a long time would have had the likes of Chaminda Baz and Muthaiya Muralitharan and so many quality players. They now have a crop of good young spinners, and they are hungry, they are eager for success. But again, you have to look at it overall. You talk about that tremendous series by Brian Lara, 688 runs. Chris Gayle got a triple 100 at this same goal venue in 2010. Those test matches ended in draws. They were rain affected. But the net effect, Lance, the net effect of West Indies performances, again, 2001, yes, Brian Lara outstanding, 300 from Chris Gayle outstanding. Now, as I said, there's an obvious decline to the extent where a captain can feel comfortable in talking about a decent effort and a good effort, and we can say pick up the positives and move on. But we're not moving on. We are not moving on. We saw earlier this year how well we did in Bangladesh, as I mentioned. We drew 2 tests against Sri Lanka. Then, as soon as we got quality fast bowling from South Africa, we were all at sea. We struggled against Pakistan. So it is a common denominator. And again, just to reinforce a point made at the start of the series, Jeremy Salazano was poised to make his test debut with a class average of 23.4.
Yes.
We are wrong with that.
Yes. Final question, Fazeer. It seems as if the West Indies at test level, it doesn't matter who the captain is. It seems as if at test level, it doesn't matter for the West Indies who the coach is, the overall coach. It doesn't matter who the batting coach. It doesn't matter who the bowling coach is. And because of those things, Fazeer, I'm very afraid of what the future looks like for the West Indies as a test-playing nation against everybody else.
It must be a concern because we are drifting to the point of irrelevance. And this is the concern. There are a lot of young people who want to play cricket. You see it all the time. There are a lot of young talents. We're going to Pakistan with some bright young prospects. You've got Dominic Drakes, you've got Odin Smith, you've got so many young players. But there's now a culture of mediocrity. And this is the problem. This is the problem that that's why I made the point. Our excellence is 44 and 36. And now that we seem to have accepted that, where is the impetus to demand the excellence? Not just from that great era, 1980, 1995, because people say that's a burden on the players. West Indies cricket were at or near the best of the world for 50 years, not 15 years, 50 years. Where is the impetus to return to a culture of excellence?
That's a question that will resound. Thank you very much for your time, Faz. You can get some more sleep now. All the best to you.
Take care.
Good. Yeah, and just to say that my own condolences to the family of Anthony Hartford. Were it not for Caribbean Sports Digest, certainly my knowledge of Caribbean sports would not be what it is and what it needed to have been to be able to do the things that I subsequently did. He was a giant of a man, and I always have special appreciation for the people who allowed me to learn, to allowed me to know. And again, our condolences to his family. We've lost a giant.